Marriage teaches you to fake sleep well. 10 years with Amanda and I could slow my breathing, keep my body still, let my eyelids flutter just enough to sell it while my mind stayed wide awake. That's exactly what I was doing on a random Tuesday at 12:14 a.m. when her phone buzzed on the nightstand and she slipped out of bed so carefully, so practiced, that I knew instantly this wasn't the first time. I heard her socked feet pad down the hallway, heard the bathroom door click shut, and heard her voice drop into a whisper I hadn't heard directed at me in years. I couldn't make out every word through the door, but I caught one clearly, a name. Marcus, said softly, warmly, the way you say a name you've said 1,000 times before. My chest went tight, but I didn't move. I lay there running through every work event and book club of the past year, every time she'd laughed at her phone and said, "It's nothing," when I asked. I wanted to kick the door open right then and demand answers. Instead, something colder and more strategic took over. I decided that night I wasn't going to react. I was going to collect. The next morning I acted completely normal, kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her, and meant every word even though it now tasted like ash in my mouth. That evening I quietly set up call and message monitoring through our family phone plan, something I'd never touched in 10 years because I trusted her completely. I told myself I was doing this for peace of mind, that maybe I'd misheard, that maybe Marcus was innocent. But 3 days in, the message previews started arriving on my laptop, and there was nothing innocent about a single one of them. Marcus turned out to be her old coworker from a job she'd left 2 years earlier, a job she still somehow had a reason to text him from daily. The messages weren't explicit, not at first, which almost made it worse. They were intimate in the quiet way real affairs are, inside jokes, complaints about me disguised as venting, plans for a trip she called a girls' spa weekend that Marcus was somehow deeply looped into. I read every message with a strange, detached calm, the same calm you get right before a storm hits, when the sky goes green and still. For 3 weeks I lived 2 completely different lives. By day, I was the husband who booked our anniversary dinner reservation 8 months in advance at the restaurant where we got engaged. By night, I read every whispered midnight call transcript, watched their plans solidify, watched her lie to my face about a work trip that lined up exactly with dates Marcus mentioned booking a hotel. I didn't cry. I didn't confront. I built a folder, screenshots, call logs, timestamps, organized the way I'd organize a work project, because honestly, that's what this had become. Evidence gathering. Nothing more. The anniversary approached and Amanda seemed distracted, distant, checking her phone under the table during regular dinners, smiling at texts she wouldn't show me. I played my part perfectly, bought her flowers, told her I couldn't wait to celebrate 10 years together, watched her smile back and say the same thing while planning her hotel dates with another man. Every kind word she gave me now felt like evidence of how easily she could lie, and I filed that away too, another entry in a folder that had stopped being about proof and started being about who she really was. What she didn't know was that 4 days before our reservation, I sent Marcus a text from an email I'd found linked to an old profile of his, posing as a mutual acquaintance inviting him to a surprise anniversary gathering for Amanda, insisting it would mean so much to her if he came. He said yes almost immediately. Too immediately. The kind of fast reply that told me he'd been waiting for an excuse to see her in person, not just through a phone screen at midnight while her husband pretended to sleep 3 feet away. The night of our anniversary, I requested the same private corner table where I'd proposed a decade earlier. Amanda arrived glowing, wearing the dress I'd complimented months ago, completely unaware of what was coming. We ordered wine, made small talk, and right as the appetizers arrived, I watched her face change as Marcus walked through the restaurant door, confused but smiling, clearly expecting some kind of surprise party. Amanda's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. I stood up calmly, pulled out the extra chair I'd requested, and said, "Marcus, glad you could make it. Sit down. We have a lot to talk about." Amanda's face went through 5 emotions in 10 seconds. Confusion, recognition, panic, and finally something close to fear. Marcus, to his credit, seemed to realize instantly he'd walked into something he didn't understand, stammering something about wrong information. I slid my phone across the table, screen already open to a transcript of a midnight call from 11 days earlier, timestamps glowing under the restaurant lights. Amanda's hands started shaking. She reached for the phone, but I pulled it back and simply said, 10 years tonight. I figured our anniversary deserved the truth, and apparently so did he. The restaurant went quiet around our table in that specific way rooms go quiet when people sense something real is happening. Amanda tried whispering my name, tried reaching for my hand, But I'd spent 3 weeks preparing for this exact moment and my hand didn't move. Marcus mumbled an apology to no one in particular and left within a minute, practically running for the door. Amanda stayed frozen in her seat, mascara starting to blur, finally understanding that the calm, patient husband she'd been lying to for months had simply been waiting, watching, and building a case she couldn't argue her way out of. I didn't yell that night, didn't throw wine or flip the table like some part of me wanted to. I simply stood, placed enough cash on the table to cover everything, and told her the papers would be delivered to the house by Friday, same as I'd already promised myself weeks earlier while lying awake pretending to sleep. She followed me to the car crying, asking how long I'd known, and I told her the truth. 3 weeks, 4 days, and 11 hours. Long enough to plan the exact anniversary dinner she deserved. 10 years ended not with a scream, but with a reservation.